Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we go in depth on the controversy and drama that went down at the 2025 Canadian Grand Prix. From stewards' confusing decisions to allegations of bias, we'll analyze all the major incidents and see if the FIA is really playing fair. The 2025 Canadian Grand Prix has again thrown the FIA into the spotlight, with fans and teams left wondering about the consistency and fairness of its rulings. Social media erupted in criticism, accusing the governing body of favoring British drivers. But what actually occurred in Montreal? And is there a strong case for bias? Today, we discuss every key incident from the race weekend and give a realistic account of what non-British drivers are dealing with in this championship battle. The race weekend was full of moments that had fans scratching their heads. One of the most discussed subjects was how drivers' language and behavior were being handled. Max Verstappen was handed community service for cursing during a post-race interview last year, with the FIA and the likes of George Russell and Toto Wolff stressing that drivers need to be role models. In Canada, however, George Russell was seen on camera using abuse in a non-serious moment after the race. No action was taken despite smiling and seeming to be relaxed. Was this innocent fun? Or did it reveal a double standard? It's not a question of blaming Russell himself. In the heat of competition, passion is running high. But when one driver is penalized for something and another isn't, fair questions arise. And the FIA's decision to turn a blind eye on Russell's outburst only added to the complaint that penalties are handed out selectively. This was not the only puzzler. Russell also attracted criticism for his behind-the-safety car driving. His heavy braking while trying to influence the position of Verstappen in his wake was captured by cameras. Red Bull protested, believing this to be a deliberate move in order to alert the stewards to a penalty for Verstappen. However, in their decision, the stewards took Russell's word that he was merely attempting to get the safety car to speed up. The formal ruling said that Russell did not drive in a wayward manner and that his behavior wasn't contrary to sportsmanship. It should be remembered that in Singapore 2022, Sergio Perez was hit with a time penalty for not keeping adequate distance behind the safety car. The circumstances weren't the same, but they were close enough that most fans and teams anticipated similar repercussions. Russell got away scot-free, though, and Red Bull's protest was quickly rejected. Then came the weekend's most confounding decision. Lando Norris, who had been forced to retire from the race, was given a 5-second penalty for his role in a crash. The penalty was rendered useless, as Norris was out of contention. Most people believed that, if Norris was to be punished, it would have been more appropriate for it to be super license penalty points or a grid drop for the following race. Rather, the FIA's decision seemed nothing more than a matter of protocol, with no actual effect on the driver or team. What adds to the surprise is that Norris is still the sole driver on the grid without a solitary penalty point on his super license, a feat in itself, but one which serves to feed the perception that British drivers are allowed the benefit of the doubt. Statistics from the new penalty point system speak volumes. Since 2014, all 10 most penalised drivers by points have been from outside the United Kingdom. This is not to infer that British drivers are being deliberately shielded, but the statistics fuel the fire when there is suspicion of bias by fans and teams. Adding to the sense of injustice was the penalty handed to Yuki Tsunoda. In FP3, Oscar Piastri damaged his car after hitting the wall and limped back to the pits. Tsunoda, trying to avoid debris, overtook Piastri on the straight. For this, he was given a harsh 10-place grid penalty. Tsunoda's move was cautious, intended to protect his car and avoid danger. It was far from reckless or unsportsmanlike. Viewers drew an analogy between this and last season when Sergio Perez was penalized for racing a damaged car, but Piastri got nothing despite limping along. Again, the question arose, why is the FIA so discriminative in exercising its rules? To add further to the confusion, the FIA handed out no fines for drivers who did not abide by safety car protocol in the final stages of the race. Tsunoda, on the other hand, was slammed for his behavior during a session that had already de facto ended. The patchwork nature of the punishments was as obvious as Tsunoda's frustration at being penalized when others were not. These choices frustrate not only fans, they undermine the integrity of Formula One. When drivers and teams begin to feel that results are determined more by nationality than by performance, they erode the very principles of competitive sport. Aside from personal sanctions, these events reveal deeper unease regarding FIA leadership. During Mohammed Ben Sulayem's presidency, there have been increasingly loud calls for reform. Most feel that the sport requires fresh direction to re-establish trust in its leadership. Although the president has overseen significant reforms, these continued controversies indicate that more assertive steps are required. So where does that leave the drivers who do not hold a British passport? Max Verstappen himself encapsulated it when he suggested his nationality was at a disadvantage in close stewarding decisions. As much as it is hard to verify such a statement, proof from Canada, and indeed from other recent Grand Prix, clearly makes fans question it. Of course, none of this is meant to cast aspersions upon British drivers Russell and Norris. They drive hard, within their limits, and it is not their fault if penalties are not given. But the duty is on the FIA to make sure those limits are applied fairly. This new controversy occurs at a pivotal moment for the sport. Formula One is growing internationally, with record numbers of fans viewing races from all corners of the globe. In order to preserve its integrity, the FIA needs to show that its choices are unbiased and open to the public. All drivers, whatever their nationality, are entitled to an even break on the circuit. The Canadian Grand Prix is done, but the debate is far from over. In the weeks to come, all eyes will be on how the FIA will deal with future incidents. Will we witness a reaffirmed commitment to consistency, or will these allegations of bias continue to plague the sport? Only time will tell. What is certain is that teams and fans will be observing intently. Formula One's integrity is built on fairness, and each ruling that the stewards deliver contributes to the story, for better or for worse. The Canadian GP served to remind everyone that the FIA has much to do if it is going to quiet its detractors and restore trust in its stewardship of the sport. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this in-depth look at Canadian Grand Prix controversies, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for additional coverage of Formula One's most pressing issues. What do you think of the FIA's decisions? Leave it in the comments below, and don't forget to watch the next video on your screen at the moment.